Heaven's Gate was founded in the United States on a belief in UFOs. It had a variety of names over the years, including Human Individual Metamorphosis, Bo and Pep, and Total Overcomers Anonymous. This is one of the founders, Marshall H. Applewhite, who lived from 1937 to 1997. This is the other founder, Bonnie Nettles, who lived from 1927 to 1985. They went by the nicknames T and Doe to their followers. They met in 1972 and became convinced that they were the two end-time witnesses mentioned in Revelation 11. Both Nettles and Applewhite were experiencing spiritual crises. Nettles was going through a divorce, and Applewhite felt like God was calling him to a new vocation. They held gatherings in 1975 in California and Oregon that attracted their initial followers. Those who attached themselves to the two dropped out of society and prepared for the transition to a new life on a spaceship.
Heaven's Gate taught that Earth was not humanity's final destination. It was a temporary training ground, a holographic classroom created by a higher alien civilization known as the evolutionary level above human. According to Tiendo, this kingdom was more real and more advanced than Earth or the so-called aliens that visited it. They warned that manipulative beings, mammalian and reptilian aliens, which they called Luciferians, had been using and misleading humans for thousands of years. These Luciferians, they said, kept people spiritually asleep by programming through religion, reproduction, and human emotion, and that the only way to escape was to abandon all ties to Earth, including family, sex, possessions, and even one's own identity. They said the formula for being born into the evolutionary level above human requires the shedding of all human mammalian behavior. Tiendo believed there were older members from this kingdom sent to guide chosen souls through this transformation. Over 18 years, they trained their followers to suppress their humanness and prepare to be taken abroad spacecrafts, literal UFOs, when the time came. Their goal wasn't death, it was an exit, a complete departure from the human world and rebirth into an extraterrestrial post-human existence. That birthing or incarnating procedure requires personal tutoring while incarnate in the human kingdom. As Earth neared its spiritual expiration date, they believed the classroom was ending and the window to ascend was closing.
The leaders of Heaven's Gate, Doe and T, used a variety of techniques to lure in members of the cult. Compared to most other cults, their techniques were relatively laid back, with their main form of recruitment being posters, newspaper ads, and satellite TV. In these advertisements, they told followers that their only chance to evacuate Earth before it was recycled was to join the cult, where they would teach them how to leave Earth behind. It was studied that Doe and T emphasized free choice when joining the cult. If you had to be persuaded to leave the planet for the next kingdom, then you were not ready to go. This created the us versus them mentality that the leaders taught to the members who joined that they were the chosen ones to move on to the next kingdom. The followers who did join the cult, however, did not have free will to leave. One of the members said they were told that if they had turned their back, their nearest and dearest would be hurt or die. They would be breaking the faith with the whole intergalactic system. In the early 1990s, a new form of recruitment emerged when Applewhite created a website for Heaven's Gate. He used the website to promote their teachings, attempting to bring in members from all over the world. The website included a digital book and transcripts from the videos they filmed. Even though the website did not succeed in bringing in new followers, it is still present today and can be viewed for their teachings. In 1985, Nettles died of cancer. This caused Applewhite to adapt his teachings, since they previously believed that they could transcend into the next level in their physical form. The new teachings that Applewhite taught the members was that their human bodies were imperfect and they had to shed them so that their conscious could move on to the next level. As a result, a mass suicide of 40 of their members occurred.
The sun goes down. Sometimes at night, secretly, silently, packed cars pull up to new houses, often big ones.
There might be 20, 30 people that would move into this house and the neighbors would be none the wiser.
No, nobody knew. My guess is 3/4 of the people never set foot out the door, and I was one of them. Ever.
Ever.
Right, and there probably wasn't even any open windows. It was like a little spaceship.
One of the most extreme cults in America is right next door. Rent has been paid in cash from the pooled money, including the money of that follower with a trust fund. Inside, the leaders are now saying they are stuck here on Earth, that the UFOs won't come until the followers are pure enough to be taken to the next level, which means purging themselves of personal opinions.
We had to have a structure, and that structure then immediately became an infringement on doing what I want to do when I want to do it.
Literally, everything that you do throughout the day, every day, day after day, is prescribed down to the minute.
And you say, good night, this is structured. And I love it.
Wake up after a night of little sleep, no bed of your own.
There was about 40 of us, and so we were divided into 3 shifts. 3 people shared a bed.
Bathe in 6 minutes. The bathroom a kind of carpool lane.
You'd be in the bathroom with another person. There'd be one person taking a bath. On the other side of the curtain, another person doing their minutes.
Then the next level, everybody knows when you go to the bathroom. You leave the door open for a lot of awkwardness if the crew you're working with doesn't know everything that's going on.
How you brushed your teeth, how you used the toilet, how you washed your body.
They had rules about dressing, they had rules about talking, they had rules about sex, they had rules about how big to make a pancake. You know, it was rules upon rules upon rules.
To purify and clean their bodies, they use enemas and fasts.
We did water fast, juice fast. What we were really testing was liberating ourselves.
Regularly, the followers are called to meetings so that Doe can pass on telepathic messages received from space, from the next level of existence. More procedures and rules. With narcissistic abandon, he can go on for hours and hours.
We're going to make an hour-and-a-half meeting out of this 10 minutes. These two who've been sitting here this whole hour with me and haven't asked me a blooming thing.
These hours and hours of digressive observations. And you think, who sits through this?
Chemistry this is right to be sustained because
Talking that gobbledygook for hours on end just kind of puts you in a trance. You're critical.
The former Army paratrooper.
I just want to say how thankful I am to Doe and T for helping me and taking me under their wing, and all my classmates have been so great to me and all the problems I've caused.
The youngest member of the group, age 25. The oldest at 71, a mother of 3.
My thoughts in these last hours are only of joy and wonder at the thought of going home.
Why am I here? What is the meaning of life? Since I've been in the class, I've learned the answers to all of those.
And couldn't be happier about what we're about to do.
But there's something you should know as these people praise Doe and thank him for showing them the way. On the other side of the camera, Doe, there, listening.
Happiest day of my life.
On March 22nd and 23rd of 1997, the members of Heaven's Gate took what they believed was the final and necessary step to escape the Earth's destruction and graduate to the kingdom of heaven in their exalted alien bodies. They killed themselves in hopes that they would leave their bodily containers and enter an alien spaceship hidden behind the Hale-Bopp comet. The religious cult committed suicide at their mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California. When police entered, they found 21 women and 18 men, varying in age, all dead. One of the crime scene investigators explained that he saw them, quote, lying under purple shrouds. The deceased were dressed in identical dark clothing, wearing white Nike sneakers, and with $5 bills and rolls of quarters stuffed in their pockets. Over 2 days, they had all committed suicide by ingesting a toxic cocktail of sedative drugs and alcohol.
Heaven's Gate wasn't necessarily a suicide cult. It was a group of spiritual seekers who latched onto popular trends in American culture, conspiracy theories, apocalyptical beliefs, and the fusion of science and religion. That ultimately led them to a tragic end. News reporters explained that event was more of a murder of 38 people and a suicide of 1 person because Marshall Applewhite manipulated these people into killing themselves for this cult. 2 members stayed behind, so the cult is still around and they are still active on their website today.